When I graduated from high school, I was 125 pounds, and I was weighing 35 pounds, now I weigh 225 pounds. We're going in.
Just ask you to stand. And rest on your hands. How's that?
Please stand. You may be seated. Well, good afternoon. My name is Tyler Heston. I come to you as a minister from a historic church in Kansas City, Missouri, but more importantly, as Sean's son-in-law. It's an honor to lead our time together this afternoon. Together we gather to remember and to celebrate the life and to grieve the loss of John Stephen Petersen, Jr., known to many simply as Steve. Steve was born on July 8, 1945 in Salina, Kansas. His parents, John Sr. in Virginia. He married his beloved Vicki Nelson on May 30th, 1967 in Bikini, Kansas. He spent 56 years together in life and in love. Steve died at the age of 77 on Tuesday, April 18th in Hays, Kansas. Along with Vicki, Steve is survived by his sisters Carla Petersen and Winnie Plunkett, his son Sean Petersen, and numerous cousins, nieces, and nephews, and a host of other friends and family who loved him dearly. Along with a dedicated career in the Kansas Department of Transportation, Steve loved to hunt and to fish and to spend time with his people out at Wilson Lake. In this time together, we will recognize Steve's loss while also telling about these memories and the story of his life. Along the way, we may laugh at joyful memories. We might cry at hard ones. But regardless, this is a space to let love and grief show up however it needs to as we say goodbye. We'll start now with a song called When Tomorrow Starts Without Me.
Tomorrow starts without me.
This is a reading from the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In sharing with me some memories about his dad, Sean told me a story about the small forest of trees that Steve had planted on the block of their house here in Lincoln. Steve planted all the trees himself. He was committed to taking care of them with some help from Sean. As a child, it was often Sean's summer chore to take the hose and to go out and water all of the trees. It was one thing to wind the hose out. It was another to wrap it back up where it belonged by the house. Like any good kid, sometimes Sean would skip that last step and leave the hose out running through the yard before he ran off to go bike with some friends around town. Steve was careful to warn him that if he did this, he would have to use a bucket next time instead of the hose. He wasn't kidding. One day after that hose got left out, Steve put the hose away himself and gave Sean to water the trees a bucket the next day. Not only did Sean get his work out while watering the trees the rest of that summer, he learned how if you're going to do something, you do it right and you do it all the way. This is how Steve lived his life. He did not do anything half-heartedly. He was in it or he wasn't, and he made sure he knew. That's what made him the strong teacher, the strong helper he was throughout his life. Each of the kids that Steve taught how to water ski can probably still hop up behind a boat and jump up on those skis. So many of you, his friends and others, can attest to his help while hunting, fishing, or working. And others know that Steve would do anything he could to show up. He would give off his own shirt off of his back, and he would help you should you need his help. He may even round up a friend or two if necessary to make sure that he could get the job done. Even when he was coaching you, Sean, over multiple phone calls throughout the course of 8 hours to help you fix down a broken car in the middle of a snowstorm, he made sure that step by step you could do what you needed to, and that you were stronger on the other side of learning. And even the lowest and hardest of valleys were no match for Steve. He was mean, not in the sense of malicious, but in the sense that Steve could handle anything a valley had to throw at him. If you told him he couldn't do something, he would disprove you once, and then twice, and then another time just to make his point. Steve was dedicated and tenacious, with a thick layer of tough that wrapped around a thick layer of tender. He knew that he could make it through life's valleys and that you could too. And he knew that you can't run from your problems but must face them head on. And his tender toughness took you with him to overcome whatever challenges there were to overcome. And Steve's dedicated tenacity took the tender form of love. Vicky, you knew this well as you lived and danced together through over half a century. Whenever you hear some 50s rock and roll or any other favorite music, know that Steve still dances with you. As we all remember memories and stories of Steve's life in person, we feel the pain that Steve is no longer with us in body. He has died. We will no longer visit him, see him around town, or out fishing by Wilson Lake. The truth is, these last years of Steve's life have been difficult. For nearly a decade, we have not seen the full Steve that we know and love. At this moment, we remember that Steve is who Steve always was. We look at this crowd, and we know how loved Steve is. From those of you here today, those who gathered yesterday for the viewing, for all others who have got the chance to know and love Steve, from pets to people, friends to family. One way that Steve's family has invited us to remember him is through donating to plant a tree in his memory. Just like those trees Sean had to water on those summer days, these trees that we will plant will grow to give us a reminder that these things we know and love about Steve are still growing within us. And whenever and wherever we sense his tough tenderness and take memories of him, he lives on with us. And so as we journey down this path of memory and grief, in a world in which Steve now no longer lives, may we hold our love for him close as we still feel Steve's presence with us. Before I invite us into a moment to silently offer our own reflections and prayers, I want to offer a moment for anyone here who would like to stand and share memories or stories or thoughts about Steve's life and legacy. To come forward and now share.
Stand here. Everybody can hear me. I appreciate you coming. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. As surprising, I guess, as us being here, it's been tough. Tough to figure out how to dress him. He's got some overalls that are multicolored out there that you all probably recognize. I know most of you saw the car out there. There's some stories that go with that. A lot more stories that maybe I don't even know. The funny one about that car, those of you that may know, he had a car just like that, I think when he was in his 20s. And he maybe had it 6 months. And so the story goes, evidently he outran the local police department and wanted to find out whether or not they were looking for him when he came back to town. Sure enough, they were. And so they decided that he needed to probably spend some time and think about it. And I believe my grandfather sold that car while he still had some payments left on it. So I searched and searched and searched and finally found that one. But the bucket story, you do a way better job. I remember there being a few more maybe choice words. I think maybe he came by it naturally, and probably I did too. So he's loved. Read his baby books. And by the looks of everybody here, he was loved. So appreciate you all being here. Honey, thank you for your support. Mom, huge love. So thank you.
Anybody else like to share stories, memories, thoughts? You don't have to come up front.
One of the first people that I messaged was Emmett after Steve passed away. And I told Emmett that Art was probably waiting for him with the boat. The cooler was iced down and they were headed to the lake that afternoon. It was a beautiful day. And I know, Emmett, you have stories that I wish you'd stand up and tell.
I probably can't tell them here.
I've known Steve for a long time. He placed a lot of trust in me. It was the worst storm I ever seen on Wilson Lake. And he and his wife placed their son in my arms and they said, Norman, if we go down, you save Sean. We didn't have to see that through because his dad got us to shore. That's what I remember.
I do have one story about him and Dad out fishing. I don't know if he was on the boat at the time too or not, but we were at Glen Elder and we were back in Granite Creek and the wind come up really bad. And they were in Dad's boat and Dad wouldn't drive it. He made Steve drive it back to the boat ramp because the wind was blowing about 75 miles an hour. And Steve kept him up on top of the waves for the most part. Every once in a while one would come over the back, but Dad always told that story a lot.
The valley too deep or wave too high. I do think the most sacred space to share stories is over shared food, out at the lake, over a beer, or wherever the stories come out. So I invite us now to a moment of silence in which we will begin that reflection before we continue down this memory, or this journey of memory and grief. For now, let's take a moment of silence and stillness. Let's just be present to this moment, the memories we have, and our grief and our love. As we leave this space together, we begin a long journey of memory, grief, and love for who Steve is to us. We will carry Steve's presence with us when we're stuck on a boat out at the lake, taking a joyride around town, when we're hunting, fishing, or whenever we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and we're hearing Steve tell us to be mean and make it through. The next steps in our journey include graveside service around the corner before a reception at the Finch, to which you are all invited. But may we go from this space in peace, knowing that even in the mystery of death, Steve's life and love live on through our morning celebration and remembrance. Amen.